Hey, come on, somebody. Big Rich here. Hope you're having a great day. Man, I've had some great shows. We've been having a good time all over the Southeast. We've been in Ringgold, Georgia. I've got a monthly show there at Caffeine Addicts Coffee, downtown Ringgold, Georgia. Hey, Dolly Parton got married there, so there's your one highlight. And they got the big Dolly Parton mural. You can get your picture made in front of it. Come down to the Big Rich Show. Great place to eat. Great shopping, everything you need right there in town. Come spend a Friday with Big Rich and friends and join me in Ringgold. Then I just got finished at the Legion Theater in Cartersville, Georgia. And that's always a fun show and a good time. I do that one every other month. So put that one on your radar. As we're getting ready, I'm finishing this. I'm headed to Florida to do shows in Florida for a couple days. Then I head back, got a couple more here. Man, we're taking this place everywhere. So you want some clean comedy, nostalgia, storytelling, front porch comedy, you get in touch with Big Rich and we'll make it happen. Doing a lot of small theaters, headed to South Pittsburgh, Tennessee, doing a show at a theater there. Then we're headed down to Brunswick, Georgia, St. Mary's, St. Simon's, all over. So reach out, bigrichbrought.com, and we'll get a show near you. All right. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, television. Man, I love growing up, latchkey kid, baby. You know what I'm talking about, you 1900s people. I wasn't really, but I love TV. And I want to talk to you about some of the shows from the 1900s, specifically mid 70s, early 80s. And I think it's interesting to think about television then versus today. Today I have apps that I watch my TV from. I don't subscribe to cable. I don't subscribe to, direct TV. Well, I'm not giving any shout outs to any of them unless they want to pay me. But any of those places, I'm not spending $100 to get 100 channels. I'll use different apps. I'm the king of using an app for a week and then canceling it. Get that free 10 days or free 30 days. When it gets Georgia football time, I might bite the bullet and buy something to get specific games. But overall, I'll watch TV through my computer, and it's a different world compared to the 1900s. When I was growing up, we had 3 channels. You had ABC, NBC, and CBS. Come on, somebody. If that's you, shout out, check your AARP, get a prostate exam. I mean, that's the age we live in. But those were the networks. And I started thinking back, some of my favorite shows we'll talk about. I want to hear some of your favorites. Some you might remember. Some you'll go, where in the world that come from? But I did a little research, and in 1978, I would have been 10 years old. Here are the top 10 shows in 1978. Number 1, Laverne and Shirley. Remember Laverne and Shirley in Milwaukee, the 2 beer they bottled beer for a living over there at Shemazel Incorporated, whatever the little song was. The reason I liked that show was Lenny and Squiggy. Man, I thought Lenny and Squiggy were hilarious. And you had Carmine, remember Carmine? Carmine Ragusa, dancer and boxer. You don't see that every day. But the thing people forget about was the number. Well, let me run through them real quick. Number 1 was Laverne and Shirley in 78, 79, followed by Three's Company. Man, Suzanne Summers, Joyce DeWitt, and then good old John Ritter. I'm in. Next show, Happy Days, Mork and Mindy. Now, for me, and maybe y'all can help me, I didn't look it up. The only one I don't remember was Angie, followed by the Ropers, MASH, 60 Minutes, which is the only one still on today, All in the Family, and Charlie's Angels. Come on, somebody. Man, who didn't like Charlie's Angels? Man, if you're a 10-year-old boy, Charlie's Angels was it. You had the Farrah Fawcett poster. Now, my favorite, and still today, Jacqueline Smith. Shout out to all you brunettes. Jacqueline Smith, Kate Jackson, and then you had old Bosley, but you didn't know who Charlie was, and that was cool because you just got his voice and never showed who he was. And then The Office, when Michael Scott did his movie, Michael Scarn, he stole or he took from that, which I thought was cool too. But the thing I find interesting about these shows, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, and Mork and Mindy came out of Happy Days. Laverne and Shirley were characters that frequented Happy Days, and then they were a spinoff. Mork and Mindy, Robin Williams, Nanu, Shazbot. That's where Robin Williams got his start, where he became famous, was playing Mork from Ork. And he started on Happy Days. Him and the Fonz had a battle. And I remember the Fonz, Mork put that beam on him, and they thought, man, the Fonz can't make it. And all of a sudden you see it. Fonz gave the thumbs up. You knew it was good. He was going to be okay. But all three of those shows, the Ropers came out of Three's Company. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 10 shows came out of each other. And my point is we only had 3 stations. Man, there are 50, 60, there's millions upon millions of people watching shows back then because they had 3 options. So you get a show like Happy Days and it spins off Laverne and Shirley and Mork and Mindy. Man, that's crazy to think about. All in the Family. Man, my dad loved All in the Family. But you know what he liked even more was the spinoff from it. The Jeffersons. Well, we're moving on up. Remember that? Oh, George Jefferson. The way George Jefferson would walk when he would come in on the intro. You had Lionel. You had that whole bunch. So these sitcoms, 30-minute shows, were it then. Then you'd have the 60-minute, the Charlie's Angels, the dramas. Here's some other biggies. Oh, let's talk about these for a minute. Man, I'll get all tied up in these. I like MASH. Now, some people's, MASH was too serious. It's funny because the term jump the shark about Happy Days when it kind of you knew it was over. For me, I knew MASH was over when, my favorite part of MASH was them aggravating Frank Burns. But when it got to the point where Frank, his character became just idiotic, I'm like, man, they're jumped the shark and then they moved on and had Charles Emerson Winchester III. And that was some good sitcoms. But I love MASH. My youngest son, when he was a kid, we went through on Netflix and watched all the MASHes. We'd watch a couple a day, or not every day, but that was something we would do. And he thought they were pretty funny and enjoyed it too. Another one that I really enjoyed was Three's Company. And you think about it, in the 1970s, early 80s, Three's Company is about a dude living with 2 hot women, one blonde, one brunette, and he pretended he was gay because the landlord wouldn't let him live there if he wasn't. So you can't pull that off today. There's no need for that storyline today. But then that was a storyline, a lot of the comedy, and the Ropers were so good. And I used to love the fact, if you know the show, where Mr. Roper would kind of deadpan the camera and just kind of look and give that look. And everybody knew. And it's just funny. And the thing that was great about TV then, when you didn't have 200 choices, now all this stuff online to follow, when you went to school the next day, everybody had watched that show. Everybody had seen Cheers. Everybody had seen whatever show you're talking about. Huge when I was a kid, $6 Million Man. And it's crazy. I can't watch it now because the graphics and all the stuff, it's just so dated. $6 Million Man, when he'd run in slow motion and they'd play that music. I always thought it'd be a cool job to be the guy that puts the sound effects and then pick the music for movies. My favorite movie, I got a lot of movies I love, but probably if I had to pick one to watch and to tell people to watch, Remember the Titans. I love Remember the Titans. Denzel Washington. If a movie's based on a true story, you already got my attention. And then it's got the sports theme. It's got the breaking barriers of racial prejudice. It's got teamwork, unity, success. But my favorite parts are when they're playing football and the music starts in the background. And I'm thinking, how cool to be the one to pick what goes where. And it works because I've downloaded those very songs because I heard them in the movies. But $6 Million Man, one of the top shows came out of it, Bionic Woman. Same show. And then they had Bionic Dog. Come on, somebody, a German Shepherd. But 3 stations all battling each other, and they're pulling the same ideas. Here's 2 more, totally different backgrounds. One I really liked. I don't remember much about it. Starsky and Hutch. David Soul, man, I love the car. Had that red car with that white stripe down it. Had Sugar Bear, that was kind of their contact on the streets. And they were 2 detectives, and they're out solving crime and helping people. And then the all-time favorite, and I think it came on Friday night, and you would hear, just a good old boy, the Dukes of Hazzard, man. When Waylon would start playing, they'd show that guitar, Waylon's guitar, and him playing, and then you're seeing the General Lee jump all his stuff, running from the law, Daisy Duke and her Daisy Dukes. I mean, that was the show. Basically, same principle as Starsky and Hutch to an extent, but it's Deep South, a lot of fun. Good old boys, never meaning no harm. Beats all you ever saw. They've been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Man, I know those people. That's how I grew up around those folks. So that's another great one. I'll tell you one that I liked, and maybe you're familiar with it. If not, if you want to know where John Travolta, he was a big star in this one. And Gabe Kaplan, Welcome Back, Kotter. Gabe Kaplan's a school teacher in Brooklyn or the Bronx or somewhere. Horseshack. The thing that's crazy about TV in the 70s and 80s was it paralleled. Here's what would happen. Here's the merch you would get. You would get lunch boxes. Did you have a lunchbox that had your favorite TV people on it? My first lunchbox, because my dad was a letter carrier, was a mailbox. It looked like a mailbox. And man, all my friends, hey, that's cool, man. Your dad's a mailman, and I would take it. And then when I graduated to a different one, I think I had I want to say it was $6 Million Man. I can't remember, but she had the lunchbox and the thermos. And it was cool if you had one, of your show or things you were into. And then the next piece of merch you could get was a T-shirt with an iron-on on it. And man, remember the show Dallas? Now, listen, Dallas came on at 10 o'clock, I think on Friday or Saturday. And really, Dallas was a soap opera, but at night. But I watched it with my grandma when I stayed with her, my mama, and everybody loved Dallas. Everybody knew about Dallas. When JR got shot, come on, somebody. That was big. Everybody, who shot JR? Who shot JR? And here's the crazy part about TV then versus now. You couldn't stream it. You'd watch a show on Wednesday. I'd watch the A-Team, and then I had to wait a week to see what happened. A week. And there wasn't any, the TV guide would give you like 2 sentences of what to look for. That was it. You couldn't Google it. You couldn't look it up. You couldn't get spoiler alerts. You couldn't download all the episodes. You had to wait. And man, I hated waiting. I wanted to know what B.A. Baracus, if he got out of that, if Murdoch flew him out of the jungles, on the A-Team. I wanted to know that stuff. Another fun one, talking about Dallas, when JR got shot, we went to Virginia Beach, Virginia for vacation one year. Virginia's for lovers. And we're walking around, my mom and daddy and me, and we're walking around and we see this iron-on T-shirt store. And I'm like, oh, can I get one? and you can pick from like hundreds of designs. And I couldn't decide. And you pick the design, you pick the color shirt, and they made it for you right then. That was technology back in the 1900s, baby. And I picked a yellow shirt with this logo. It had a cowboy hat on it and a gun, and it said, "I shot JR." And man, I loved that shirt. And I'd wear that shirt around and people would notice. They go, "Oh, you got him. I hate that guy." Nobody liked JR. Nobody liked him. And what's crazy, he used to be I Dream of Jeannie. Everybody loved him on I Dream of Jeannie. But boy, they don't like I Shot JR. Another fun one, and this one's not very popular. I'm curious if some of you guys remember this show. It came out, I think, 78. It was on maybe 3 years. Ken Howard starred in it. See if that helps you. The White Shadow. Man, I love The White Shadow. What was that about? He was a basketball coach in the inner city, a school teacher, and he took over a basketball program and took them not from worst to first, but they weren't very good, and they became a great team. And I loved basketball. That was my favorite sport, like Curtis Blow says. I loved it growing up. Man, Larry Bird, the big three, Bird, McHale, Parrish, DJ, Danny Ainge. Love the Hawks. They were my second team because I lived near Atlanta in Chickamauga. Danny Roundfield, Tom McMillan, Eddie Johnson, John Drew, Tree Rollins, Steve Halls, but they were my second choice. It was always Celtics. My dad loved the Celtics. I love the Celtics. But I love the Hawks. Then I loved a lot of different players. But what you see in these TV shows back then was you didn't have a lot of choices. You had three. And then lo and behold, like 1981 or 2, when I turned like 13, we got a satellite dish. And I don't mean like the small one on the side of a house or a mobile home. I mean the giant one that looks like a TV station is, like you're talking to aliens. We built this area, concrete slab, put down a satellite dish. We never had to buy cable, but that thing cost like $5,000. But we got like 100+ stations. Nobody we knew had 100 stations. Because back then, if you could get cable, we lived out in the sticks. We couldn't get it. In Chickamauga, if you got cable, you had a little box on top of your TV, and I think you got 15 channels, something like that. And man, my grandmother, she was so funny because and a good childhood memory in the summer was you could watch the Cubs in the afternoon and the Braves at night. WGN in the afternoon, TBS at night, get a double header of baseball. My Pat Rock, that was his world, man. We'd watch those two. I remember one time my grandma calling down to Hogjaw Road, and she called and says, "Hey, let me speak to the boy." I get on there, "Hey, Mama, hey, you're coming to see me tomorrow." I said, "Huh? It's a school day." "No, it's snowing tomorrow, so get ready. We're going to have a great time. I'll get everything together. We'll play games, hang out." And I get off phone. I said, "Hey, it's going to snow. Mama said it's going to snow." Well, she was watching WGN out of Chicago. Had no idea. Man, busted my world right there, people. My daddy's like, calls her back, "Ma, what channel are you on?" 18. He's like, "That's Chicago." Oh, and I got my hopes up for nothing. But I look at those days, man, and I love The White Shadow. I liked this show's very underrated. And this show was huge. Battle of the Network Stars. If you're not familiar, the 3 networks, all the stars, the actors, the actresses would compete against each other in like a Olympics, all these different things. They would do like serious things like a foot race, obstacle course, tug of war, but then they do goofy games too, Duncan Booth, but all the hot women. And here I am, as a kid, but I'm noticing, I'm like, all these hot women they've got in like tight bathing suits, and they're getting dunked in water. And it's basically a wet T-shirt contest being organized on Battle of the Network Stars. And and all these people competing against one another. But then when it came down to the obstacle course, that was always the deciding factor. And man, they took it serious because they got paid more if they won. And back then, they weren't making Seinfeld money or Friends money. So that extra money was helpful. But I loved watching that. A lot. I tell you, shows that kind of lame, and or they were to me. I don't mean to burst your bubble, but uh, back to after school specials, never a fan. I fortunately I grew up in a good home. I had loving parents. They loved each other. They loved Jesus. They loved each other. They loved me. I didn't have a lot of, any trauma or things, thank God, that, I had to deal with. And my heart goes out to people that do. And we all face things at some point, but just remember you're never alone. The scriptures teach us that God's mindful of us, and every thought he has for us is a thought of peace, but also that there's nothing that happens to you that's uncommon to man. Somebody else has went through it and they've overcome it. So there's hope for you and me. And, but I look at those after school specials and they'd be about teen pregnancy or drugs or, somebody, molestation or thing. And I'm like, I'm going out to shoot basketball. That's not my thing. My routine when I was a kid, when I get home, if I had homework and I have to do it, then I'm out playing sports. I had a German Shepherd that could catch a football, a baseball, a frisbee. Only child. I'd throw it, bring it back. We'd mess around. My cousin played. He was all-state kicker, running back, middle linebacker. Now that's a combination. My older cousin, he was my closest thing I have to a brother, and growing up, and he was 6 years older than me. And I would go with him. And, back then kicking was just an extra. Whoever can kick on the team was a kicker. There wasn't soccer players kicking, there wasn't kids that just kicked. So he figured out he could do it, and he would practice on Sunday. They wouldn't even practice it hardly at practice. So I'd go with him, and then I set me up one at the house, 2 trees with a stick across it, put a couple nails in the trees, and I'm out there kicking field goals, and my dog's running it back to me till, she busts a hole in the football. But my point, there's things to do. TV wasn't it wasn't like this is what we do. But when you did watch TV back then, there's only 3 stations. So you got to pick, decide what you're going to watch. And more than likely, everybody else is seeing it too. Last one on it, and I was a little bit older. I think I was 13, maybe 15. I don't remember. But Motown 25th anniversary came on TV. And people YouTube that like crazy and watch it. Why? The first time Michael Jackson moonwalked was on that show, and his brothers, they reunited, did some of the old songs, and then he did Billie Jean live. And when he did Billie Jean live and he moonwalked across that stage, nobody ever seen that before. Now James Brown probably did it. Some other people probably did it, but it wasn't televised in front of 60-something million people. I don't know the number of how many watched it live, but I know when I went to school the next day, there were people trying to moonwalk. And when you're in an all-white school in Chickamauga, Georgia, that's not pretty, trying to see somebody moonwalk. And everybody was talking about it. Man, did you see Michael Jackson? Did you see the moonwalk? And that's what TV could do then. Now, with all the podcasts, social media, television, all the things we have, on our phones, it's a different world. If you're in comedy or music or entertainment, you find your audience and then you work with it. And that's what I'm working on. And that's what I'm doing. But this segment today, man, I just want to talk to you a little bit about TV shows from the 70s and 80s. Let me know some of your favorites, especially if you got one that wasn't as popular, but you loved it. BJ and the Bear, Rockford Files. We can go on and on, but hope you have a great day. Thanks for hanging out with me. Come see me at a show real soon. Got shows all over the Southeast. Go to bigrichbrock.com and we'll see you soon. Have a great day.